You can forgive someone and wish them well and say, Godspeed. I hope you have a beautiful life, but you're not coming in my yard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that in your yard.
Elsewhere. Yeah.
But you're not doing it in my yard. I have no ill will, but you just can't cross this gate. Sorry. Well, it's so nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you too.
I've heard great things. Of course. I'm happy you're here. Heard great things about you from Halston.
Thank you.
And
great.
yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's okay.
He's fine.
He's
whatever.
okay.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
I do music and content and public speaking. I'm kind of all over the board in the art world.
That's awesome. What kind of music?
Yeah, I do pop rock and like R&B stuff. I play keys and sing.
And you were on tour?
I have been on tour, yeah, for a bit. I haven't for a couple years, but yeah, my last tour was 2017. I did like 4 months, 32 cities. It was a big one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Hope to get there again. I want to tour again for sure soon.
So you were here because Halston thought we would have a great conversation because you are such a positive person and a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into your background a teeny bit because I don't like to know too much because then
I love that
I feel
actually.
like the conversation flows a little differently.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Sure. Yeah. I can give you the summarized version and then we can kind of get into stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I had terminal cancer twice. The first time I
doesn't look so terminal.
Here we are.
Right?
Yeah, I was diagnosed at 18 the first time and they gave me initially 5 years to live and I did chemo and radiation and surgeries and kind of conventional stuff. And then I went into remission for 2 months and then got re-diagnosed with brain cancer.
What was the first cancer?
The first one was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay.
The second one was also similar cells, but it went up here into the lymph nodes here into the temporal lobe of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, at that point I was given 1 year and then I did all my own treatments and kind of took like a more natural path the second time. And ironically, because that's how the universe works, celebrating 1 year cancer free, I went on a road trip to see my best friend. And on the road trip, I crashed my car at 80 miles an hour on the freeway. I went over all my lanes of traffic, the median, the opposite lanes of traffic. And they found me crunched like underneath my steering wheel, kind of where the pedals are.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had to get helicoptered to 2 different hospitals. The first hospital didn't really know what to do with me and sent me to a second hospital in Denver. And there was a surgeon there from Germany who saved my life. And so, yeah, I got my skull reattached and I spent the last like 3.5 years relearning how to walk and talk and play music and do all my motor skills and everything again. So
that's
the short version.
That's
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yes,
that is a lot. I have 8 million questions. So you were 18 first time?
First time. Yeah.
Close to your parents?
Close to my dad. Yeah, he's like my best friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
So was he helpful?
He was, yeah. He probably wanted to be more helpful than I let him be. But I had just moved from New Mexico to LA for college. And I got diagnosed just in that first year of being here. So he wasn't with me physically. But he definitely, I think, wanted me to come home. But I was very much of the mindset, like, I could, but then I would be kind of like in a bed waiting to die. And I think it would happen versus continuing to be at school and do music and kind of do what I loved.
Gotcha.
So
where were you in school?
Yeah, I was at AMDA. It's a performing arts academy in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you decided to continue on with whatever was happening in your life and just pursue treatment?
I did. Yeah. I was
inside.
in treatment. Yeah. During class and all that stuff. It was a crazy time.
But that's a good choice.
Thank you.
Right? Because
it actually means a lot to hear that. Yeah. Thanks.
I think that's a really good choice because you could decide to exactly what you say, go to bed and say, well, this is going to suck. This is terrible. This is over.
Yeah.
Or just keep living your life to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And this is just an inconvenience until it's something that can't be denied. You know, some people don't have that lucky path.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's a great kind of way of looking at it. You know, just say, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to keep my life going.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot. Yeah. It was, I think a hard decision. I think you never really know what you're actually going to feel when that kind of thing happens, especially being so young. I didn't even know who I was yet. But yeah, I think, as you said, not everyone has the ability to make that decision. But I think, or the privilege, I guess. But yeah, I think it was the right one for me. And I'm lucky that my dad was able to kind of say, okay, I'm trusting you and I'm going to let go, because I know that definitely wasn't easy for him.
I would imagine not. That would be really hard.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I would have micromanaged Island drowned.
Which is not totally natural. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, which he wanted to do for sure. But.
So let me get the timeline right, because I got a lot of information.
Yeah, sorry.
Got that. And then 6 months later, you got another diagnosis. Tell me the timeline again. 6 months later.
So I had like months of treatment, and then I had 2 months in remission.
That's right.
And then in my second month of remission, I got re-diagnosed. Yeah.
And it was similar but not the same?
Yeah, similar but spreading, and then changed into into my brain. Yeah.
And what kind of natural treatments did you do?
I started looking at the body, kind of like, how can I create an environment where cancer cells can't live? And I looked into kind of alkalinity and oxygenation of the blood. And I'm always like very careful about how I talk about it, because I'm not trying to tell anybody else to do this. Right. But I found what worked for me. And I think it's super interesting with that natural path, because people are very polarized about it. It's like Western or natural. And I was very much like, I'll try anything. Why wouldn't I try anything?
Yeah.
And of course was working with like actual Western medicine doctors the whole time as well. But yeah, especially in America, people I think are a little bit more questioning about it. And if you talk to like people in Europe, they're like, oh yeah, my cousin did that, my grandma did that. You know, it's like a lot more common.
How fun.
But yeah, I try to be careful about it, because I feel like that's a responsibility that we take on, to make sure that we're not giving information to tell other people how to like diagnose themselves.
Yeah, no, totally. So the oxygenation of the blood and alkalinity, what does that mean? I mean, I know what oxygenation of the blood, how do you affect that positively?
Just through diet, mostly. Okay. Yeah, through diet. And
like what?
Like people, it's like trending now, but people say, you know, like alkaline waters and things like that, or cruciferous vegetables like cauliflowers and broccolis, things like that. And yeah, and it really worked for me. It really helped me a lot. And I think it does for some people. Obviously it doesn't for everybody, but yeah, was able to find what worked for me. So I got very lucky.
That's very lucky. Yeah. I always think we're so foolish as a society to set aside like old ways. You know, as soon as penicillin showed up, I feel like everybody went, and that's the way. Yeah. But they were using other things for maybe non-infectious diseases for many, many, many thousands of years before modern medicine showed up. So I don't know why we don't do a better job of marrying the two, right? As long as one is not negatively affecting the other, wouldn't it just be a scaffolding? I mean, eating broccoli can't negatively affect like whatever this Western medical treatment is. 100%. Why not have both? Do your very best. I don't understand that about every medical problem.
Yeah, I love that. Cancer. That's my view on it too. I was like, well, I know it can't hurt, so why not? Let's add it. Let's see what happens. Totally. Maybe it directly affected it. Maybe I just like ate a bunch of kale and got lucky. We don't know. But I'm so glad that I did and that I tried everything, you know? So, you can. I feel like when you do that deep dive into any issue, then you can really feel like you've done your absolute best. Yeah, exactly.
You know? So that's good for you. What made you think that way? Was there something in your childhood or somebody that, you know, was an outside the box thinker? Or is it just who you are?
Yeah, a little of both. My dad is definitely an outside of the box thinker, but my grandma, she also had thyroid cancer and she ended up passing from that, but she beat it a couple times prior doing similar things like natural ways. So yeah, that was kind of what sparked the idea. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll look into it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so then moved up to your brain.
Uh-huh.
And did you have any cognitive impairment from that?
I did not. I mean, so definitely a lot of, you know, like chemo brain, as they say, or like the fog.
Yeah.
But not from the cancer itself. Yeah. That came more after the fact. Yeah. With the crash.
Right. Mm-hmm. What was the hardest part of that part of your journey? What was the most difficult?
That's a good question. Probably just the timing of it, that it happened so close to me thinking I had just beat it, because I went from highest of high, like, oh my God, I did this, to, whoa, actually, okay, we're less than ground zero. Like, I have to start all over and then some. Yeah.
What was the best part of it? What did you learn, or what was something that you're like,
So
wow,
much.
without this journey, I wouldn't have blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about before the car accident.
For sure. I didn't like to ask for help. I'm like absolutely independent, but way to a fault in a micromanaging, controlling kind of way.
Right.
I had to learn how to ask for help, because that used to be a huge thing. I think being able to show somebody that I'm not perfect was probably the biggest one. I had to, come off with no imperfections, and everyone must only know good things about me, because I only have good things and I've never done anything wrong in my life. And controlling that image was like very important to me. And then, when I'm bald and looking like death and performing in front of arts kids who are ruthless, like you're gonna kind of stop caring a little bit, or kind of be thrown to the wolves like that. So that I learned that was a big piece of it.
That's cool. And do you feel like that's really stuck?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm probably too honest now, like oversharing kind of way. But yeah, I love it. I think that age, like 18-year-old me would be like, what are you doing? Like, even on this, like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, don't let people know. But yeah, I love that it taught me that. Yeah.
So who do you think, or how do you think you would be different had you not gone through that? Besides what you just said, that you didn't.
No, another great question. I just don't think I would be here. Well, definitely not here, but I think I was so much more fearful and quiet and very reserved. And I think I would have continued being that way, which probably would have like stunted a lot of the opportunities I've gotten, for sure.
As much as, not to minimize cancer for the world, cancer is terrible. I've lost family to cancer, where you just go, there's just, you can only do so much, and this is the end. One of my I was very close to my aunt who I lost. She was only 63, which is way older than 18.
Yeah.
But 63 was way too young, in my opinion.
100%.
So not to minimize it, but I think there's a gift in almost everything. And to be able to find the gift, I think helps you actually get through the hard parts of it, somehow. She was such a gift to me for so many, and I got to have her for that long. So as much as I would have liked for her, obviously, to have stayed around, you have to, I don't know how you manage or cope with hard things sometimes, or at least I do, is to find what the gift or the lesson is in the hard thing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've found your gifts and lessons in that first part of the hard thing for sure.
I think so, yeah. I love that. I think that's so important. And I think that also got me mentally through it as well. I think I always say, like, I adopted the mindset, it was either meant to kill me, which it would, or it was meant to teach me a lesson. So how do I find that and apply it? And yeah, I agree with you.
That's a great thing. Great way to look at it.
Thanks.
So what did you do to cope when you were going through this? Did you read books? Did you watch movies? Did you go for walks? Did you sleep? What was your, like, quote, self-care that wasn't directly related to treatment?
I would love to tell you that I did a bunch of great self-care, but I think I probably was a bit avoidant about it, being so young and scared. And I think I dove into self-care via like just going to class all the time and trying to be a straight A kid and just getting everything perfect and doing all my classes right. And that was kind of a big piece of it. And I guess helped me because with that, like, art is very cathartic for me. But yeah, dove into my work for sure.
It's interesting how that can become a coping mechanism for some people. I definitely have that as a coping mechanism. And sometimes it's really healthy. And sometimes it's really not. Right? Depending on what's going on, you're like, you should not be doing this right now. But you just don't really know what else to do.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're kind of a doer.
I am a doer, which again, like, has its benefits and negative things as well. So depends like where the intention comes from, I guess. And I think I'm better now at being able to see, like, are you actually doing this because you want to and you're feeling inspired, or you're trying to band-aid some stuff?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Why for the Party is sponsored by Shopify. When you think about companies with healthy sales like Chubby's, Gymshark, Magic Spoon, or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, an attractive brand, and marketing that lifts a heavy load. But an often overlooked secret is actually the business behind the business, making selling And for shoppers buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not so secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. We've been using Shopify for years for Bert's online merch sales, for Wife of the Party's online merch sales. It makes, I guess, being a business owner kind of plug and play because you can go on their website and track your sales, your inventory. You can see what's working and what's not working. It's so user-friendly. We love Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout BBP uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/wife, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/wife to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/wife. Okay, car accident. Why did you have a car accident? What happened?
So what they say, and I still don't know officially, but what they think happened is that I passed out in the driver's seat because my body doesn't regulate oxygen how a healthy person does because of my history with cancer. So sometimes I wear an oxygen tank. And I can usually tell, I can tell if I'm having a bad lung day, but I was driving at that time from Vegas to Wyoming. So the elevation, I guess, was climbing really high. So they think I passed out and I was on cruise control, 80 miles an hour, the speed limit in Wyoming. And so that's what they think happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wasn't breathing and I was found under my steering wheel with a broken neck. And now I'm here and I'm alive. And also, I already beat cancer twice. So I don't know what's going on, but if anyone else has experienced this whole not being able to die thing, hit me up.
That's bananas. So
it's
you have
crazy.
No memory of...
I do not. Yeah, I remember, driving. I remember beautiful, thinking how beautiful it was. I remember I was on the phone with my dad. And the weirdest thing too, I told him, I said, Dad, it looks like I'm driving into heaven. It's no joke. That actually is what I said to him. I think a half hour before I crashed.
Oh my gosh.
Just because it was so beautiful. It was very much like a figure of speech.
Yeah, right?
Oh, the mountains are beautiful.
Didn't mean it literally, right?
Yeah. But yeah. And I don't remember any of the crash, which I think is my brain protecting me definitely from that. Mm-hmm. And I remember waking up in the hospital, but there's so much discrepancy around, why I actually crashed and the doctors versus the EMTs versus the guy who found me. And so it's hard. I understand the oxygen processing side of it, but I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is 7,000 feet elevation. Mm-hmm. And I would drive there all the time and have no issue. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. But also if I felt that I was having a hard lung day, I know myself, and I would have pulled over and gotten my tank or something. So lots of questions.
Well, what do you think it would be other than that?
I don't know. I mean, the elevation I think plays a part, but it just doesn't all quite add up to me. And I'm also a very universe person, things happening because we need them to. Yeah. And so personally, I kind of, as crazy as it sounds, I feel like that's probably a part of it. This is definitely something that needed to happen.
Why would you think it was something that needed to happen?
I think,
hadn't you learned enough?
I know, right?
What more did you need to learn?
Never end.
Right?
No, I think at that point there was a lot I needed to learn kind of about community and about the people, the company who I keep. And I think we have a big misconception around kind of trauma and this, you must have a huge community because you've been through so much. When in reality, in my experience and a lot of people's experience, people don't want to face your trauma because they can barely face their own trauma, right? So they end up leaving more than not. Mm-hmm. And I used to, again, with the perfectionist thing, blame myself about that. What am I doing wrong? How do I fix it? And I think that whole process with everybody leaving my life made me realize that I couldn't have done anything. I was quite literally in this hospital bed.
Incapacitated.
And so, I knew it had to be, their own fears and their own things. But that was a big reason I think it could have happened. And
to clear your decks.
Yeah, to clear the decks. But just mostly like you said, to teach me something, and it's, in a lot of ways, these things are like the best thing that's ever happened to me, even though they're not, all butterflies and rainbows, but like overall, yeah.
Far from butterflies and rainbows.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I heard like your scalp was reattached to your head. Is that right?
My skull, it's the occipital bone of the skull was shattered, and in my brainstem, I know, sorry. So, I had to get my skull reattached to my spine. Not my scalp was on. Everything was
so my
attached.
Sister-in-law did my research for me. And she was like, they had to put her scalp back on. I was like, what? She was scalped in this car accident?
Different thing.
Not. Totally different.
But
scalps would
similar.
probably be easier.
Scalps and skull, I get it. There's a lot of information out there. We don't always know. But yeah, scalp was fine. Skull was not. Yeah.
Wowza. So you had to have your skull reattached. Is that why you had to relearn how to walk?
Yes and no. Because of the bone in the brainstem, it was more so the brainstem injury that affected like the ability to walk and like my nervous system stuff. Yeah.
So could you not walk at all? Or could you walk like a little bit, but it's a little...
In the beginning, didn't have movement. I couldn't really see well when I woke up. And I didn't have speech either. Not in the vocal cords. My vocal cords were fine, but just in like articulating words kind of way. And it slowly progressed over time, obviously learning to walk again. But yeah.
What was that like?
Crazy.
Was it?
Yeah. It's very wild with because I didn't have any brain injury, right? So it was like I was cognizant, I could understand as a human adult that I could see someone walking and be like, obviously I can do that. I know how to do that. But then you can't make your body do the thing. And that's such a weird experience. Yeah. Yeah. And frustrating.
I was going to say, what was the biggest emotion associated with that?
Oof. Just fear. I was terrified. Just a big time fear.
Fear of what? That you'd never walk again?
Yeah. That I'd never... mostly music, to be honest. Like they didn't know like vocally where I would be if my voice would come back, and that's like my passion and my love and my career. And so that one was scary for sure. Not really knowing. That was actually where my dad, I think, did a really good job as well. I mean, he did a good job everywhere, but that in particular, I guess they told him that when I was like not really. I was heavily medicated, obviously, and he didn't tell me. And I am actually glad that he didn't, because I think it allowed me to kind of just see where my voice was and decide, okay, I think I could work it out. And then once I was able to start singing, he was like, oh yeah, they said you might never sing again. I was like, what? But I kind of think it's good. It helped me have a different mindset about it.
Yeah, sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
And the human body, I would imagine as a doctor, it's got to just surprise you over and over again and over again. I mean, yes, statistically, you can say this person has COVID, so this person will have these symptoms. But if you're a curious doctor, I would imagine you'd say, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
I can anticipate A, but you never know. B might show up, C, D, and E might show up.
And they didn't know, they weren't sure after everything that happened, how it would go. And I was very lucky to have the surgeon that I did. But
so were you in Colorado when this happened?
I was in Denver hospital.
And did you just stay in Denver?
I did, yeah. I stayed there in the hospital, and then we got a hotel like across the way from the hospital while I was waiting to kind of like get my staples out and relearn stuff. And yeah.
And then where did you do your rehab?
In Denver.
In Denver?
Yeah.
How long were you in the hospital?
Yeah. I was in the hospital for a few weeks, and then we moved over to the...
Wait, hold on. You learned how to walk in just a few weeks?
No, well, not well. Like I could stand and have my little walker with the nurses and stuff like that. But no, I was still figuring that out while I was in the hotel. And then also when I came home to LA, I was still working on all of my capabilities for like the next 2 years. Yeah.
So did you like decorate your walker like it was a cool lowrider or something? No,
I didn't.
That would have been cool. Would have been cool, right?
Yeah.
I would have put all kind of shit on my walker and been like, watch out.
A missed opportunity,
beep, beep, right?
Honestly, yeah.
So what was the hardest part of learning how to walk again? Was it like bending your foot, or was it just mental part of it? What was it?
I think the mental, yeah, because again, like seeing and knowing that I could do that, but not being able to make my body was just like so frustrating. And and just the thought process of it, like we don't think about like how much our mind actually has to do to move our body. But even for like something like a cup, it's like, you're thinking extend the arm, open the fingers, close the fingers, lift the hand, bring to mouth,
Wow.
And that's exactly what you have to do with walking. And then of course we don't think about it, it becomes second nature. But that was the hard part, was kind of getting all the minutia of step by step by step. Yeah, which is exhausting.
The human brain is
it's
crazy.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I was just thinking, well, that's how to be as simple as this, that's how you learn anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you're a baby,
you don't remember learning how to walk, how to pick up a cup, how to use a fork. You don't remember that. But at some point you learned how to fish.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. You push the button, you let go, and then you reel it in, and all that you have to kind of think about. Mm-hmm. Same with working out, like with a trainer. Mm-hmm. You have to get your body in exactly the right position and really focus and use your brain. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, it was. And I do say that actually, like when people are like, can you explain it? I'm like, it is like being a baby. Like you just you're learning it all over again. Yeah.
Was it just exhausting?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the nervous system part of it was the hardest too, with like relearning everything. Because then, like being a baby, like the lights and sounds, anything like that is really, really hard. And I couldn't even be, I couldn't be in environments where there were lots of noises or things happening at one time. And so even finding places to then learn the stuff I had to learn. That was like the frustrating part, I think.
And then over time, I'm assuming that kind of calmed down over time.
Yeah.
I would imagine your brain was just on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a really good way to explain it. And my skin and just the whole nervous system. So everything is brighter, louder, hurts more like to the touch. And Halsey and I were actually having the conversation the other day about that, because my first outing ever was a Panera Bread across from the hospital, and I couldn't, it was empty and I couldn't even stand that. There were waiters with salt packets, and I was like, it's too loud, it's too much. And then, we just played this show and it was just so incredible. And I was like, whoa, I can be here and have a conversation with you, and there's noises and sounds and bands playing, and I can do that. So yeah, it's definitely improved. Still a long way to go, but crazy to be there.
How long ago was this accident?
That was in 2020. Yeah. And
so 5 years.
Technically just got out of recovery, last year.
So you were in recovery from the accident for 4 years?
Yeah, pretty much. They were like, after a year, you'll probably be able to do most things, which was accurate. But they didn't really have a projected time because they kind of just weren't sure. It was about 4 years that finally everything, came back to the place where I felt like pretty normal. But
did you have really good insurance?
No, I did not, to be totally honest with you. No. Yeah. It was middle of COVID, and I had gotten laid off from my job because of COVID. So it was, and I was in 2 states getting treatment that I didn't have insurance in.
Oh my God.
Which is all.
How do you even deal with that?
Slew of complicated stuff.
Who helped you with that?
Yeah. No, I
would need help with that.
I didn't know really what to do, to be honest. And my dad was helping me with stuff, and a couple months after my crash, he had a brain bleed. So then that became a whole helping him experience.
Wait, why did he have a brain bleed?
Separate situation, but yeah. So it just happened. They think maybe he fell. Maybe they aren't sure if it was because of a fall or not. But yeah,
is he okay?
So he's okay. Yeah, he's doing really well. We kind of switched roles for a while, where I was like taking care of him and helping him, and we relearned how to walk and talk kind of together. So it was a really,
he had to relearn how to walk and talk too?
He did. Yeah.
He did?
Yeah. Which is crazy. I know.
What kind of past life have you two people had together that you showed up here for this for each other?
I know. Yeah. I know it sounds like a made up Grey's Anatomy episode, but it's true. Yeah. Yeah. He's like my angel. But yeah, my point being, he was helping me for a long time, and then unfortunately couldn't. So yeah, it was a lot of figuring all that out on my own, for sure.
But wow, you could relate to your dad so much.
Yeah.
What a support system you had for each other.
Yeah, definitely. It was wild because we did experience so much of the same kind of symptoms in relearning, but from 2 totally different experiences. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really nice to have him in that way. And I think I was the sick kid for so long, so I was kind of used to that side of it, but I can't believe kind of what the other side feels like. And that side is way harder 100% of the time.
Why is being the caretaker harder?
I think because you don't have any control. As a mom, it's like you kind of, hopefully it's doing well and you do everything you possibly can, but it's, this is their own person versus when you're sick, you can make those decisions and take those actions. So it's really, really hard to give that up. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And I'm not a mom, so I don't know in that way, but yeah, with that,
my kids
loss of control.
It is a loss of control, and it's like and you just feel so bad. You want to do it for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Ooh.
I'll be sick for you.
Yeah.
And then that way I'm under control.
Yeah.
I can just handle it.
Yeah.
So that's very true.
Yeah.
How crazy that you had that with your dad. You're connected forever.
Wild.
How old's your dad?
We are. He is 71.
Your dad is 71?
Yeah, he is.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 31. He had me up when he was 40, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Your dad's 71?
Yeah.
My dad's 75.
Thriving. Nice.
And I'm 54. I'm way older than you are.
Yeah, he had me later. In life, yeah.
And where's your mom?
Yeah. She's not in the picture.
Not in the picture?
Yeah.
Never has been, or?
Was when I was young in a pretty destructive way, and left me kind of when I got sick, and then hasn't been in the picture since.
At 18, she left you when you got sick?
Mm-hmm.
How come? Too much for her?
Yeah. She said that she couldn't see me like that, was her phrasing. But there was also a lot of kind of like trauma and childhood stuff with her prior to that as well. She also lost her parents young. So I think that whole experience was related then when I got sick, obviously. And she did come to the hospital when I crashed. My brother called her, which I kind of wish he hadn't, but of course he did, because he thought I was, everyone thought I was dying. So
Does your brother have a relationship with her?
Not really. I have two older brothers. They're 12 and 18 years older than me. So we all have the same mom and different dads.
Gotcha. Okay, half brother.
But yeah, their dads left when they were born. So my dad kind of like took over.
Okay.
So yeah, the oldest one, I don't really have a relationship with him, and he doesn't with my mom either. It's all very complicated. But the younger brother, he kind of has a relationship with her. He's kind of the only one in the family who I think checks in with her once in a while. But yeah, all of us have kind of had to set some pretty big boundaries with that. Yeah.
I don't know if you know much about me, but I have a similar
I do, yeah.
relationship. Okay, so I understand.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that. And they're like, how could you not talk to your mom? Well, sometimes it's not the kid's fault. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is,
Yeah.
How did you... So it sounds like if you had a lot of drama with her before you got sick, was her behavior a surprise? No?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I guess was good kind of in a way, because, it wasn't like this huge devastation, but it was definitely tough. Like I was just a scared little kid that needed her mom, at that point. So, yeah. And I think I had already been pretty independent growing up and kind of that strong-willed kid. And during that time I was not. I was just I need help. I am not okay. So yeah, that was definitely rough.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Did you feel so I know with my mom, for me, when I figured out this boat is never righting itself, ever, no matter what I do. It's never gonna, I'm never going to have a mom. Not that I need her to be this warm and fuzzy, tuck me in at night, buy me presents, just not the basics. There's grief with that sort of, that you go, oh, that's sad. I actually, maybe you haven't realized it quite the same way. I realized that when I had kids, because I realized what I gave them that I never would get.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's, for me, when it was really hard, because you start seeing yourself as a child, because you have a child that in some ways reminds you of yourself, right?
Yeah.
My second child did. My first child, I didn't think about it much because she is so much like her dad. But the second child showed up and was a representation of me as a child. Because I knew that I was very rowdy. I was very physical. I was a handful. Everyone always said I was a big handful. And I had a handful for the second one. And I went, oh, this is what my mom couldn't handle.
Yeah.
This little one.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how it affects you when you have kids.
Yeah. Well said. I think your kids are so lucky to have you, first of all, and that you can like change that around. I think that's incredible.
Oh, well, thank you. There was not an option for me to keep it the same.
Yeah, right.
I don't have what I believe, my mom's never been diagnosed, but I believe she has a personality disorder, and I definitely do not. So right off the bat, I'm ahead of the game, you know, and I believe hers came from trauma in childhood. I know the trauma it came from, and I think it's pretty A plus B equals C, in my opinion. This is my opinion because she hasn't been diagnosed. Yeah. So, but when I've done work on myself and I can clearly see damage and what that caused and what the after effect was, I'm just collateral damage of that damage that she lives with her whole life, right? So I'm grateful that I'm just collateral damage, that she didn't do to me what was done to her. She did to me something else, but it wasn't what she had. So in a way, she broke the cycle.
Right.
Because I didn't get what she got. And then I broke the cycle, which is what she taught me.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it a certain way, she taught me how to break a cycle.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Well, I mean,
that just healed me. Thank you.
Well, I hope it heals everybody because it is, you know, perception is reality. And if you perceive that everything through the lens of abandonment or abuse or neglect, then that's your reality. Even if some of that is true, right? But if you can find a way to rephrase that reality for yourself so that you have freedom. Like someone had me read a book about child abuse, and I was like, I don't want to read the book about child abuse. And I was like, wait. A lot of that stuff happened to me, but I've never used the word abuse. I refuse to use it. I refuse. I will not use that word. She did not know how to be a parent because she was very damaged. And I feel so bad about that for her because then all the love I feel, the relationships I have with my children, with my husband, with my friends, she was not capable of. How sad is that? Yeah. Your mom has 3 children that she can't connect with. How sad is that? Yeah. That's so sad. And as sad as it is for you, it's almost more sad for her because she chose to have you. Right. You know? Yeah. I mean, I don't know the circumstances, but in theory, you could choose. She could have chosen to have an abortion. She could have chosen to give you up for adoption, but she chose this. Yeah. And for this to be the end result, what a sad human. It's her loss.
Thank you.
It is.
Yeah. It's interesting to have that. I think it's important that we have that compassion, definitely. And I think it's a hard balance to find the compassion and the boundary, you know, like where is that understanding where it comes from, but also that doesn't make it okay that I'm being treated this way. So as you said, then we set those boundaries, but that's a hard balance. Yeah.
It is. Well, there's a difference between forgive and forget. Forgiving, but if you don't forgive, it's like you drinking poison and expecting her to die. Yeah. But if you forgive, all that goes away. But you should never forget. Yeah. The minute you start forgetting, the cycle starts repeating itself.
Absolutely.
So that boundary comes with the not forgetting. So that's the thing that I think a lot of people have hard time teasing apart. Like you can forgive someone and wish them well and say, Godspeed, I hope you have a beautiful life, but you're not coming in my yard. Yeah. Okay. You can do that in your yard.
Elsewhere.
But you're not doing it in my yard. I have no ill will, but you just can't cross this gate. Sorry. Yeah. You know, those are no malice intended, no hard feelings. Yeah. Wife of the Party is sponsored by Factor. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor keto meals. Based on a randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto, results will vary depending on diet and exercise, with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. So personally, I know I say this every time, but personally, I love their smoothies because I add a protein powder and now I have a delicious protein shake. I live by them. They're probably my favorite thing they offer, but I also love their meals too because they're fast, they're easy, and they're always delicious. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. When you said you almost wish your brother hadn't called her,
Yeah.
what did you mean by that?
I think it was really difficult to have her there kind of like playing house for a couple days and then to not have her at all. And I think it would have been easier because at that point I hadn't had her in my life for many years. So it kind of would have been easier to just continue that, especially as I healed. But to have that trauma like reintroduced while I was already in this huge like moment of trauma in my life was definitely hard.
Because why? Here, I have so many questions. Why? When she showed up, did you think, here we go again? Or did you think, I have to take care of her? Or did you think, oh, there's some hope here? Or can't wait for the other shoe to drop? Like what?
That's a really good question. Keep in mind also through all this, I'm like heavily medicated.
Yeah, right.
I went from like completely sober to like all the strongest painkillers on the market.
Wow.
Which needed, but so I was kind of in and out in a lot of this, but I think my initial thing was taking care of my dad because I know that I didn't have hope. I was like under no impression that she was going to come and mother magically,
Yes.
But my dad, man of eternal hope. And so I could see it and I could watch it happen, and they have been together for decades, obviously, but he'll always be like, oh, this is the time, maybe she'll change. And I'm thinking like, now is not the time when you're like trying to take care of me. And I know he's about to devastate her. She's about to devastate him. And so I was trying to kind of manage his expectations was my first thing, was like, hey, Dad, like she's just doing her thing. And I think he realized that when she left. I had her on speakerphone when she was like screaming at me in the bed and he heard it. And I think that was maybe one of the first times he actually heard the way that she talks to me. And he cried and he said, I knew she treated me like that. He's like, but I didn't realize that it was the same for you. And that was like a very poignant moment. But I think, the initial emotion was, how do I take care of him? Because this is BS for what's happening.
Right. You knew what was up.
100%. And so did my brother. Yeah, we knew. Yeah. And he's very smart. He's just so loving. But he'll,
I understand.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's a very kind, sensitive fella.
Yeah.
And those kind, sensitive fellas, see my husband, they just keep hitching their wagon up to hopeless horses. And you just go, that horse ain't worth 2 dead flies. Why do you keep hitching your wagon up to the same damn horse that does the same thing every time? Mm-hmm. And then, it's heartbreaking to go through that with someone who's just so hopeful like that. I'm a very hopeful person, but I'm also extremely pragmatic.
Right.
And so, at a certain point, I'm like, they've shown you who they are too many times. Mm-hmm. Why are you hooking this wagon back up to this horse? I don't understand.
100%.
But if we were all the same, it would be very boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there you go. We learn from each other.
Well, your little dad, bless his heart.
Yeah, he's the best.
Healthy now?
Yes. 5 years cancer-free last June.
Congratulations.
So thank you so much.
That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a exciting.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So are the doctors like, you're done, you beat it, you don't have to worry about anything? Do you have to keep going back to the doctor and get checked on anything?
I still do. Yeah, I do yearly scans. And then I was obviously doing scans for my neck for a while. I don't have to do those anymore either. But I'm all good. Just do my yearly thing. And, there's always fear of recurrence that's in anybody's life. But but yeah, so far so good.
That's amazing.
And, it's a new chapter for sure.
So music.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So we got the walking, talking, eating, picking up a cup. How long did it take for you to get, what instruments do you play? Do you play instruments?
I play piano. I play guitar a little bit and flute, but keys is mostly my thing.
And flute.
I know.
I love that you're a flautist.
It's so embarrassing. I mention it sometimes and not others, but here we're just having a candid conversation. So yes, I play flute. I'm a band nerd.
I love that though. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You should never leave it out, right? So what did you try to play first? Mm-hmm. And how frustrating was it?
Piano first. Singing first above anything. I was like, I have videos of me in my neck brace, sitting on a bed singing and trying to jam out. So singing, I was immediately trying to do it. But then keys for sure. And it was just again, I think because I didn't have all the information, I was like, well, let's just see where we're at. Let me just sit here and see what we're working with.
Right.
Which was also really scary. That's where it started, and it went fairly well. I mean, I remember when I heard my voice for the first time, I was thinking, wow, okay, we're good. We're doing okay. This is okay. I close my eyes. I see my name in shining lights. Oh yeah. But trying to play and sing for the first time together, I was like, whoa, okay. Oh yeah. We have a long way to go. Yeah.
Just hard to coordinate both parts of your brain at the same time.
100%. And I think it was a big ego check for sure too, being like, oh, I have this many years of experience and now we're back to one. Mm. So yes, you are going to sound like you have 2 weeks of piano experience and not 15 years. That you just have to be okay with that.
Right.
All this experience is gone and you got to figure out how to be fine about it. So
wow,
that was the hard part, I think. Yeah. The ego piece.
Now, where do you feel like you are now? Do you feel like you're back to 15 years of piano experience? Do you feel like
no.
You're 7? Where do you feel like you are?
I mean, probably about 5 years in. I think if you met me and saw me play now, you probably couldn't tell. You'd be like, oh, she's a semi-experienced musician in LA. But I think if you knew me before, you're like, oh yeah, I can tell.
Right.
To be honest, yeah.
That's interesting.
There's a difference. I mean, I think with anything, even my mannerisms, the way I articulate myself, I feel very inarticulate in comparison to how I used to. And I think it's that thing, if you meet me now versus if you knew me prior, you notice it more.
How interesting.
Yeah.
But you were only 18. And at 18, we know everything.
Everything.
So you might not have been quite the sharp tack you thought you were, simply because you were 18 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, at 18, we think we're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and we can definitely build a house with our own 2 hands from the ground up, right?
Oh my God.
And it's just not true. It's such an inflated sense of self. I mean, obviously you know better than I do, but just a thought.
Yeah.
Because the older I get, even though I don't play an instrument, I was a writer for a long time. And the older I get and I sit down to start writing, I go, oh, I was so much better at this 10 years ago. But I think it's because we learn so much as we get older. And part of that is understanding how much you don't know in the world. And you're exposed to you're just exposed to so much more than you are at 18.
Yeah.
So you in a 1-inch volume versus you in a 50-inch volume feels very different. Mm-hmm. And at 18, I feel like you're in a 1-inch volume.
Yeah.
Everybody, not just you, everybody when they're 18 years old. Mm. So I wonder how much of it is true.
Yeah.
And how much of it is the fact that you've survived 2 terminal cancers and a life life-altering car accident where your scalp was reattached.
Yes. Spreading the misinformation.
I know, right?
There's all kinds of crazy things about it.
Yes. So the things that you've had to learn had to have affected your knowledge of self and including your skill set, right? I'm sure some of that's true, but I bet it's not quite as proportionate as you think.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, you're probably right. 100%. Yeah.
And if you can lean into maybe I'm a little better off than I understand because I know more about the world. It might make you feel better about where you are. Not that you feel bad,
absolutely.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's so accurate. Yeah. Thank you for that.
I at 54 find I know less about more than I did at 34.
Yeah.
And even 34, you still, you know way more than you did at 18. You don't have a lot of that arrogance and ego that you did at 18. But even if the older I get, kind of not the less confident, I feel like I'm more confident in what I don't know. Does that make sense? So it kind of makes what I do know more confident. Where I go, I don't know what that word is. Will you just tell me?
Right. No, that's a great way to say it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Being comfortable in like your imperfections or the things that you don't. Yeah. I used to be that, oh yeah, whatever that band is, I like it too. Like even have no idea what it is or, like,
yes.
Comfortable in not knowing or comfortable in your faults or your flaws. Just saying, okay, yeah, here is the area that I need to grow. Yeah. I think that's,
I'm me here, and this is me all the way.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? Are you working on an album? Are you just still trying to bang out the keys? What are you working on?
I mean, both all the time. Yeah, trying to improve. But yeah, I'm putting out an EP this year. I put out an album last year, another album. And just continuing to release music. I think this year I want to get more like into the speaking circuit. I've been doing public speaking for a while, but I want to get more into it as my health goes up and as I start to travel and stuff again. That's something that I love.
What are you public speaking about?
Just my life and mental health stuff. I do a lot of like content online about trauma healing and mental health. So kind of bring that long form into like colleges or cancer conferences or different things like that. So
that's great.
Thanks. I love it. I just, I want to try to help people get through the things that I went through. So this year, definitely just trying to ramp up on the public speaking and music always. But
and where are you releasing these albums? Where can someone find your album and what should they look for?
All my stuff's on Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere. My Instagram is probably the best way to find all the things. Music by Aria is
Music
what it
by
is.
Aria.
Aria. Yeah.
Interesting that your name is Aria and you're a singer.
That was on purpose.
That was on purpose.
Well, my full name's Ariana and that's what most people call me. But musically, I was like, oh, I should, Ariana Grande was already taken. So I was like, Aria is a perfect little musical meaning. Yeah.
It's beautiful too.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful name.
Thanks.
So tell me again your Instagram.
Music by Aria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Music by Aria.
Yeah.
Same on like Spotify? How's someone find on Spotify?
Yeah, links are all there. Yeah, Music by Aria.
I don't know. I don't know the lingo. See how I don't know what I don't know? I don't know how people find stuff.
That's okay. If the reason I do that is because then it's just a link tree and then they click one button and all the links are there. That way I don't have to spend like 15 minutes being like this one for this one and this one for this one.
Okay, I see. So on your Instagram, there's a link tree.
Yeah.
And then you can go wherever you listen to music.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so fancy.
There you go.
Do you have a podcast or anything?
I don't.
No, but you just...
That would be fun. I'm on a lot of other people's podcasts.
Yeah. I saw on your Instagram, you're like kind of morning motivational. I don't know if you actually do it in the morning. I saw two of them where you have coffee. So I was like, oh, does she do this first thing in the morning?
Oh, yeah. I think those were just videos. I do also like morning messages. On Instagram, I have like support groups, subscription support groups, basically. So I like connect cancer survivors or people who are going through certain traumas with each other. So that might have been one of the videos that you saw.
That might have been. Yeah.
But in my social media, I try to just be very like, I don't know, I do half my videos without makeup or I'll bring, you a virtual cup of coffee with them. Try to make it like we're just sitting together, similar to how you do this kind of energy of just being humans together. So
That's so great. Well, thank you for coming and telling me all this amazing stuff today.
Thank you for caring and letting me share.
What a beautiful life you have.
Thank you.
And a beautiful life you have ahead of you. And what a great dad you have.
Thanks. I do. Yeah. Shout out to my dad.
Decent brother. Sounds like a decent brother. Can't leave brother out.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I wish you all the best. And we'll have links to everything in the description of this episode if anybody's looking for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for what you do here. I think it's so wonderful and healing people as well. So.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? What are we here for if not to help each other?
100%.
Oh, well, thank you, Aria.
Thank you.